Hey, what's going on everyone? Alex here. I've been meaning to talk about my Steam Deck since I got it at the start of the year, but all I can think about is how awesome it is to be able to play a ton of games from several console generations all in one place. I want to share with you 10 JRPGs that I've been playing on it, and maybe one other RPG that's worth mentioning. All the footage you'll be seeing in this video were captured while the Steam Deck is docked. But before we get into the list, I just want to take the time to thank BenQ for sponsoring this video. The BenQ Trevolo U desktop dialogue speaker has 3 different sound modes and both Bluetooth and headphone jack connectivity, which makes it especially great if you're on the go. Find out more by following the links in the description. Trails in the Sky isn't officially supported on the Steam Deck, perhaps due to the fact that when it plays the opening movie, it plays slower than regular speed. But otherwise, the actual game itself runs pretty well. I've only really watched summaries of the Sky games to help me get caught up in the series back in the day, so being able to play the Sky trilogy on a portable platform, especially with its fairly lengthy introduction, lets me pause the action and return to it at any time. It's been a great way to get caught up in Trails, and a fantastic way to discover why the Sky games are some of your favorites, and I'm eager to see more of where Estelle and Joshua's adventures will take them. The best part? You can play all of the currently released Trails games on the Steam Deck, so you can play them all on one portable platform. I haven't really done a full playthrough of Chrono Trigger since I borrowed my friend's copy back in the 90s. So being able to play it on my Steam Deck and not having to pull out my DS copy is a ton more convenient. What hasn't been said about Chrono Trigger? It's a game brought to life by a dream team of creators that's never been truly replicated since, though many games have come very close. I love how straightforward the storytelling is, which was no doubt necessitated by the relatively small memory space on the cart. And in case you're curious, its original 4 MB size is definitely a ton smaller than the Steam install. Which leads me to Chained Echoes, a game that was heavily inspired by Chrono Trigger and a ton of other 16-bit classics of the era. While the combat system can be an acquired taste, its innovative temperature system, which required players to balance their aggression, is such an intriguing concept that added an element of suspense and thrill to battles that makes every encounter worth paying attention to. And that's not even mentioning the fantastic soundtrack from Eddie Marianocro and a crazy story that Matthias Linda wanted to tell. Replaying through Chained Echoes on the Steam Deck has been an absolute blast, especially since I can now play New Game Plus thanks to the finished save that I had on my PC last year. Gotta love Steam Cloud for that. Speaking of indie darlings, Jack Move is definitely one of those games from the last year that I absolutely loved. And getting to install it on the Steam Deck means I can continue experimenting with a ton of cool new builds that I didn't get to play around with before. It's a fairly brisk 10+ hour adventure that packs a lot of fun customization, a story that doesn't overstay its welcome, and gorgeous animations that help set it apart from other indie JRPGs out there. And sure, you only have one character to control, but that doesn't mean that there isn't any strategy to it. Just don't underestimate the game all the way until the very end. Jack Move might just catch you by surprise. Square Enix took a big risk last year by entering the farming RPG genre with Harvestella, but it was a risk worth taking. Featuring an in-depth story that gives you constant feels as you progress through each season, Harvestella was one of those rare new IPs that executed on every single thing it wanted to do very well. And when you see how crisp the graphics are running on Steam Deck, you're gonna want to play it on there as opposed to the blurry yet functional Switch version. It might be strange to say that Harvestella is Square Enix's sleeper hit of last year, but I truly believe that it is. And anyone who's discovered the secret of the Quietus and all of the goings-on in that world will attest that it's certainly one adventure that's worth playing through. I've heard every single complaint under the sun about Triangle Strategy Story and how it takes too long to get somewhere. But you know what? That's why playing it on the Steam Deck is so much better. I can leave it in the middle of a cutscene, only to come back to it when I'm ready to continue. One of my favorite parts about Triangle Strategy is how streamlined its progression and combat systems are, which actually make it a ton easier to recommend for newcomers to tactical RPGs. But as someone who's become a fan of the genre fairly recently, I appreciate that its design runs counter to other tactical RPGs that have tons and tons of menus and stats. Nothing wrong with those, of course. I still love me some deep and rich progression tinkering. But when I just want to jump in for some tactical RPG goodness without having too much to micromanage, Triangle Strategy easily fits the bill for me. I want to take this brief break to talk about a game that's not a JRPG, but is an RPG I've been playing a ton of, which is Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 just came out on the PS5 this month, and with the game releasing on Xbox platforms soon, I figured I'd continue my futile quest to finish this game on PC. Only this time, I've got the Steam Deck to help with that. While naturally not as good looking as other versions, playing it this way allows me to push my playthrough forward a tiny bit each time, which helps me feel like I'm actually doing something meaningful in the game. Kidding aside, there's always something awesome to see and do in Baldur's Gate 3 that is conducive to multiple playthroughs. Wait, are you hearing this? I'm already thinking about multiple playthroughs and I've still yet to beat the game once. That's a testament to how interesting and dangerous Baldur's Gate 3's world is, a place that I can pop in on occasion, thanks to my Steam Deck. I started my 5th playthrough of Persona 4 when I started up Persona 4 Golden on my Steam Deck, and it's everything I remembered it was and so much more. Granted, the start is still super slow, which is why you're not seeing any footage of the first palace in this video, but the setup and the amount of world building that it does is similar to when you're at the lift hill of a roller coaster. You keep climbing up and up and up until it drops you quickly into a mystery that spans an entire calendar year. I've said it once and I'll say it again. This is the JRPG that brought me back to the genre, and I can't wait to finish this playthrough so I'll have an excuse to talk about it again. I picked Final Fantasy VII Remake back up after playing through Final Fantasy XVI a few months back, because I wanted to see if my opinions on it changed. And sure enough, I think I have a very different take on it that not many other YouTubers have brought up. While you'll have to wait until I make my video on the game, I will say that being able to play through this gem on Steam Deck, despite its graphical limitations, is a ton of fun, especially on the go. This is one of those situations where I can just turn on my Steam Deck, start up Final Fantasy VII Remake, and continue with my journey away from the other games in my backlog that I have to review. Speaking of graphical powerhouses, Tales of Arise doesn't look too bad on the Steam Deck. Again, you're not playing games on the Steam Deck because you want cutting-edge graphics. You're playing it on there because of its portability. I actually started a new progression on the game a few months back, and jumping back in reminded me of everything I loved about the game. The streamlined battle system, the fun quirks that were introduced to break up the pace of exploration and combat, the characters, the voice acting, all of it were super enjoyable to re-experience again. But I still can't believe that this thing can run Tales of Arise. And last but definitely not least is Octopath Traveler 2. I have Octopath Traveler 2 on every platform it's been released in, and naturally, I got it installed on Steam Deck to help with my progression on PC. While I don't have as much time to spend on it as I did earlier in the year, I actually started a new game progression a few weeks ago with Particio as my main, because Particio is the man! This is my go-to chill game because even though the battle system is familiar at this point, heck, the Bravely series does the exact same thing, there's something calming about familiar things that just allows me to sink deeper into Octopath Traveler 2's environs. And with incredible voice acting, a wonderful soundtrack, and leveled up HD 2D visuals, Octopath Traveler 2 remains as an easy Game of the Year nominee for me. One game that I would absolutely love to play on my Steam Deck is Sea of Stars, which I actually got to play on the Switch. If you want to know what I think of the game, go check out my review linked up top. Also, if you have a Steam Deck, let me know what JRPGs you've enjoyed playing on it. And for the folks who don't, what JRPG would you play on it? Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.